Okay, the next podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast. Another part of my deep dive investigation into family courts and child protection in the UK. My opening sentence is: before a mother ever walks into family court, the outcome is often already known, not to her, but to the system. This podcast is about what they knew, when they knew it, and why mothers and children pay the price. Before I get into the body of my podcast, can you all like, share and subscribe? Can you share it on Twitter? Can you share it on Instagram, Facebook? I'm not on those. Oh God, my cat again. This is take 2 because my cat kept jumping on me. And she's back. As soon as I start filming, she's back. I'll introduce you to her again. So the title of today's podcast, I'm going to fit two podcasts into one, because one flows after the other and then it's all in one space rather than doing two separate ones, because now my feedback is they just get into it and then it ends. So now I'm getting a little bit more confident of my cat speaking into a camera. As I said, I'm not a presenter, I'm not anything to do with films. So this title, They Knew: Power, Foreknowledge and the Destruction of Mothers in Family Court. This podcast is not about mistakes, it is about foreknowledge. It is about what institutions know in advance, what they do with that knowledge and how that knowledge is withheld from mothers until it is too late. When a mother enters a family court or child protection system, she believes that telling the truth, seeking help, complying and engaging will protect her child. That belief is reasonable. It is also the mechanism by which she is undone. Professionals inside the system know that once a case becomes public law, once the threshold is crossed, once findings are made, and once a care order is granted, reunification becomes statistically exceptional. See my podcast on public versus private. Mothers are told to engage, to trust the process, and that removal is not the aim. At the same time, reports are written, narratives fixed, and legal routes quietly closed. Compliance becomes leverage. Mothers are bounced around from what I used to describe as being like a ball in a pinball machine. They're bounced between social workers and legal teams, placed into procedural exhaustion, destabilised and then blamed for reacting. This is institutional deflection combined with absolute authority. Many mothers observe that fathers appear calm, even confident, while the mothers are terrified. This is not innocence. It is familiarity with how the system reads behaviour. The system prioritises risk management over the elimination of harm. If harm appears containable, it is tolerated. If a parent introduces uncertainty, the parent is removed. Returning a child to their mother ends oversight. Placing a child in care or kinship under orders keeps funding, control, and professional authority intact. When mothers collapse under this loss, which I'll speak about in this podcast, their breakdown is retrospectively used as evidence that they were always unfit. In every other sector, like energy, pharmaceuticals, banks, when these organisations harm the public, They face sanctions. Corporations are fined. Executives are scrutinised. Incentives change. It's very important. It's very important to have accountability. In child protection, harm is absorbed. Investigations are internal. Lessons are learned and nothing changes. Just tea. This is not about punishment. It is about parity. Incentives shape outcomes. A system that knows the outcome, withholds that knowledge, coerces compliance, and calls devastation protection is not broken. It is functioning as designed. And mothers are finally refusing to accept that lie. I just want to briefly talk about what happens after removal. What the public are rarely told, if ever told, after a child is removed. First, what happens if a mother has another baby after a child has been taken? In many cases, the removal of one child is treated as predictive, is treated as predictive risk for any future child. The mother may be assessed before birth, placed under pre-birth proceedings, or told that history alone creates concern, even when there is no new harm. This means a new baby can be removed at or shortly after birth, not because of what is happening now, but because of what happened before. Second, the hidden cost of separation. I'm going to read this very slowly with my tea. Separation from a primary attachment is one of the most severe stressors a child can experience. Research shows it is associated with long-term impacts on mental health, identity, trust, and relationships. What is less openly discussed is suicide risk. Among care-experienced people, rates of self-harm and suicide are significantly higher than in the general population. This does not mean separation causes suicide in a simple way, but it is a known risk factor. For mothers, the loss of a child can trigger profound grief. Some mothers experience depression, trauma, despair that is minimised or reframed after the fact. I just want to jump in here with a personal little story. The distress that I went through. It wasn't depression. I don't suffer with depression. The distress. I don't know if you've ever seen, for example, a horse that's separated from its foal. If a horse is in a field, for example, it will just pace and it will whinnying, trying to find its foal. If there's a mare in a stable that's been separated from her foal, she'll bang the door. That's distress. It's distress. It's a natural instinct. It's a natural instinct when a mother's separated from a child, and I actually think this is used against the mothers. The natural instinct, whatever the natural instinct is, they work against it, and then they say the mother's crazy. What is rarely examined is whether the removal itself and the silencing that followed contributed to the collapse. Because when a mother dies by suicide, the narrative often becomes she was unstable, unwell, or unsafe. That story can be used to retrospectively justify the original removal. It's cruel, in my opinion. I think it's wicked. It's wicked. It's cruel and wicked. I'm going to stick to the script because this way, my channel will be safe, and yeah, there's no ranting in my channel, not by me anyway. Third, do children die after being placed in harm's way? Public inquiries and serious case reviews confirm that some children have died after professionals believed risks were being managed. These deaths are later described as tragic failures, with promises that lessons will be learned. What the public is not told is how often concerns were known, minimised or reframed before the worst happened. This is not about claiming inevitability. Many children survive and go on to live meaningful lives, but the risks are real, documented and unevenly borne. When systems manage risk instead of removing harm, the costs are carried by children and parents, sometimes for a lifetime. Recognising these realities is not about blame, it is about honesty, and honesty is the beginning of protection. So, this is my manifesto. I'm going to do a small podcast on inalienable rights to protect one's child, because I need to go into the law. But my manifesto has 10 points. Number 1, the bond between mother and child is fundamental and pre-political. Parents have an inalienable right to protect their children, not only from abusive individuals, but from state actions that cause harm. 3, the state must never outrank a parent's duty to safeguard without clear, proven and proportionate necessity. Risk management is not child protection. Manageability is not safety. Systems that exercise irreversible power must be subject to real accountability, not self-review. Lessons will be learned is not justice. Number 7, in 1839. We're in 2026. I'll let you do the maths, but it's almost 2 years, give or take, whatever. In 1839, Parliament recognised the injustice of separating mothers from young children. It is a moral failure that nearly 2 centuries later, this protection has eroded. No mother should lose her child without committing a crime, without transparency, and without genuine recourse. Number 9, reform is not extremism. Accountability is not hostility. Truth is not hatred. Number 10, a society that cannot protect mothers and children from its own systems has lost its moral compass. So, in finishing, I want to talk about my call to action, because nothing's going to change. I can't do it on my own. I've tried for years. So that's why I set up my YouTube channel. I want to grow it authentically. I want to grow my YouTube channel authentically. Word of mouth, spreading, and my call to action is, this podcast is not the end. It is the beginning of public accountability. If you are a mother who has lost a child through family court or child protection proceedings, your experience matters. You were not alone, and you were not imagining what happened to you. If you are an adult who grew up without your mother, there's one person that I can think of that I hope watches this. I really hope watches this. If you are an adult who grew up without your mother because of state intervention, your story matters. Your voice has been missing from this conversation for too long. Actually, there's a few people that I know whose voice really matters. I just hope they have the strength. But we're building a community, and we're all behind everybody. We're supporting everybody. If you work inside this system and feel uneasy about what you are being asked to do, you are not the problem. Silence is how harm continues. I'm asking for 3 things. First, listen. Sit with this information without rushing to defend the system. Second, share. This conversation has been suppressed for decades because it relies on secrecy and disbelief. Third, document evidence. Third, document. Sorry. I can't even read my own notes. Sorry, I need a drink. Third, document evidence. Patterns and lived experience are the foundation of reform. Got it out in the end. This is not about attacking individuals. It is about changing a structure that causes predictable harm. Transparency is not a threat to child protection. It is its foundation. If you believe children should be protected without destroying their mothers, stay, watch, listen, speak when you can. This is how systems change, not through rage alone, but through truth that cannot be ignored. I hope you're following. I hope it's not too traumatic. My next podcast is going to detail those who lost their lives to this system. I've got so much work that I've been writing out, printing out, and I've got a whole stack of podcasts here, but the next one, I think it's important to follow this. The women, the cases that it grates, on me for many years. I'm in contact with families that have lost loved ones, that have never done anything wrong, or certainly not to harm their children. So don't forget, subscribe, like, share. Thank you so much for listening.